Hello and welcome to PropNext, the property podcast focused on issues that impact the future of the real estate industry. I'm your host, Gavin Morgan, and in addition to looking forward to today's and future conversations, if you'd like to know a little bit more about me, please look on www.propnext.com. That's www.propnext.com. Or if you'd like to chat privately, drop me a line on gavinrmorgan@propnext.com. That's GAVINRMORGAN @propnext.com on email. I'm delighted to welcome Yang Yu onto today's show. Yang, I mean, you and I have obviously enjoyed some great experiences in the subject of today's show, Niseko. As well as having known one another for a long time across the respective chapters of our careers in China and Hong Kong, and also in different parts of the world as well. I think we've met in most continents over our
absolutely, yeah.
And I mean, just Niseko, as you know, I mean, a place that I absolutely love it. I've been going up there for years. I mean, it's always been a sort of fun destination. I've personally flirted with investments up there, but haven't quite made the jump yet. But when I know you're deeply experienced in that location, or an investor there, and so you enjoy it now, a business location with friends and family. So, yeah, I mean, just a great place. And just before we start talking about the real estate side of it, what initially attracted you? What got you up there initially, and what has hooked you on that location?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's quite interesting. You know, again, I mean, thank you, Gavin. Thank you for having me. It's again, you know, it's whenever you talk about obviously Japan is actually one of my favorite countries in the world, and obviously Hokkaido is beautiful, and Niseko is really one of my favorite destinations in Japan, and it's not only for the skiing, but also at the same time it's for the summer as well. So interesting that the first time I went to Niseko, it was about 16, 17 years ago, and a very good friend of mine, he was from Australia and he lived in Shanghai, and he had a beautiful house there. He still has it. He has a beautiful house there. So one day he took me there.
I think I know the one.
So let's go and do have some fun. So we went there. I mean, the transportation, the traveling was actually it's very smooth. Basically, you just fly there, you're landing Chitose, and then, the driving was like probably 2.5 to 3 hours. And then you go there, then it's just a very special place. It's like a little ski town in Europe, but yet at the same time, it's not as bustling as that. And also you have that kind of like organic Japanese village feeling. And then what kind of blows you away is, skiing. When you go onto the mountain, the quality of the snow, and also the the kind of like the replenishing, every single day, every single night, it's gonna snow. And the second day, you always have beautiful, powdery snow. It just blows you away. And also it's kind of like experience. It's not only for skiing. Because a lot of people say, I love skiing. I can fly to Europe. I can fly to Aspen and just enjoy the skiing. But to me, Niseko, ski is a very important part of it. But also at the same time, I would say really that the Japanese traveling experience is also very important as well, in terms of, the food is amazing. Hokkaido is obviously the one of the best place to get a produce, and they've got a great beef, they've got great fish, seafood, and great grains. The potatoes is amazing. It's a particular specialty in Niseko. And then the onsen is very nice as well. Onsen, after skiing, jump into the onsen, have a glass of a pint of beer or a glass of sake. It's amazing. And also the traveling experiences around Niseko as well. For example, you can just 30 minutes away, you're going to be in Otaru having sushi, half an hour away, 45 minutes where you're going to be in Sapporo enjoying their fish market. It's just really the whole traveling experience, not only skiing. So yeah, I mean, I can go on now with that, exciting experience.
But you're right, you can, but it's covering all of that great stuff that makes it such a great place. And so much of what you said there, I mean, onsen just goes so well with skiing. I mean, it's one of those things that pairs perfectly with the ski trip, but also that Japanese culture and hospitality. And people talk about that a lot. And they talk about a lot of different places as well. But there is something special about holidaying in Japan, and the Japanese people, they just have a different way of treating tourists. It's welcoming and warm, and it's refined too, in a way that I
Absolutely.
don't think I've really ever experienced anywhere else. And all of that comes together to make it almost a unique experience. I mean, I could not agree with you more on that. Um,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
and I mean, is that so? Presumably, I mean, that obviously, I mean, that hooks you. It certainly has hooked me, and it always makes me reach back in my mind when I'm thinking of places like that. You know, if I want to go skiing and where I'd really like to go, it always floats to the top of my mind for that collection of reasons. But real estate investment, I mean, it's attractive. I mean, a different kind of dynamic of place to think, you know, particularly for people like us who are used to working in big cities. What attracted you? When did you first think this is a place that I'd like to invest? And what sort of poked you into that way of thinking?
Well, initially it was really the experience, right? Because I mean, when my friend took me there, that was the first. I think that was the first winter I went there, and then the second winter I went. And from the first time I went to Niseko, every single year, at least I will be making 2 or 3 trips to Niseko. And also, I mean, you know, being a real estate man, Gavin, I mean, when you go to a place you like, you always want to own a piece of dirt in a particular place. So from my perspective, initially it was really for the personal investment. I was like, well, I like that. I like this place. I like the experience. I mean, coming here is actually pretty convenient. I used to be living in Shanghai. From Shanghai to Niseko, door to door is probably about 5 to 6 hours. It's actually very, very convenient. Even in the summertime, it's even better. Then gradually, you know, again, I put my kind of like investment and research hat on. I was like, well, if I like the place, there's got to be a reason. And why do I just look into the investment angle of this particular location or this particular village? I mean, you know, for the long run. So then I started doing quite a lot of homeworks in terms of, you know, number one is actually who are the visitors, the skiers today, and who will be the skiers and visitors tomorrow. Every single year, do I see an increase on the amount of people, amount of visitors coming here? And then the numbers gradually stacking up to say, oh, it's actually a very interesting place. Well, for a couple of reasons, right? Number one, when you look at essentially just going back a little bit, I mean, Niseko is predominating right now. It's a winter destination. You don't really have a lot of summer traffic, but that's also the part that a lot of people are missing because Niseko is actually not only a winter destination, just like Whistler. Whistler used to be a winter destination. People just go there to ski and snowboard. But now, actually, the summer trade in Whistler is bigger than the winter trade in terms of the amount of people goes there and also in terms of revenue as well. So Niseko gradually, in my view, I mean, the summer trade is going to catch up as well. Is that, well, for me and my family, actually, we can easily spend a week or 2 weeks in Niseko in the summertime. It's beautiful. You've got a mountain, you've got a lake. There's so many things you can do. You can do hiking, you can do whitewater rafting, you can do fishing. And then the weather is fantastic. The weather in the summertime during the daytimes at 24, 25 degrees Celsius. In the nighttime, like 20 degrees Celsius, crispy, nice weather. It's a very nice summer destination as well. And there are a lot of golf courses. From
Yeah.
Niseko, 5 minutes drive, you will have 6 different golf courses. And back onto the winter sports, there's one thing which I think we've been realizing during the last couple of years, which is the booming on the winter sports in Asia, especially in China. About 3 years ago, I still remember I read this report, 2017, 2018, 2019. Beijing set a target that they want to have 300 million winter sports participants by 2025. I was like, you're dreaming. I mean, in China, I grew up just watching the video, watching the movie skiing. I never skied. I never actually skied until I was, I think, 18 or 19 years old when I went to Canada, right? I mean, winter sports in China is not popular at all, has not been popular at all. But, just a few months ago, I mean, at the end of the Beijing Winter Olympics, they announced that, actually China has already got 300 millions of ski participants. 300 million is quite a lot of people. I can tell you that,
Yeah, no kidding.
US,
Yeah.
exactly, US,
Yeah.
the local skiers probably is between 25 million to 30 million people. And then you have another 15 to 20 million people actually flying to US to ski. Europe, you probably got, the same amount of people. So 300 million people is going to cause a big boom in the world ski industry.
It makes a fantastic case for investing in the better locations in the region, because that market will definitely want to flock to what's considered to be sort of best in market or best in sector. And
for sure.
And I just wanted to pivot to that, because I've been reading some real estate collateral recently that was the Aspen of the East, quite a nice title. But again, in my experience, it's one of those interesting places. It's got that traditional rustic charm that makes it so appealing as a ski village, but it definitely it's a high-end, it's a prestigious location. And with that type of demand, or the sort of demand that you've future, it deserves the Aspen of the East title, do you think?
Well, I wouldn't probably put it as Aspen in Asia, because personally, if I do want to travel out, if I do have like 2 or 3 weeks of the traveling time, if I don't really mind the time zone, the time differences, the place I'll probably go to, obviously, as you mentioned, that essentially the best ski destination in the world are basically Europe and North America. Europe, you're talking about Austria, you're talking about Italy, you're talking about France, you're talking about Switzerland. And then in America, you're really talking about Colorado and Utah, and probably Canada, Whistler. I will probably compare Niseko more towards Europe than America, because I feel that from the cultural perspective, from the quality of the food and everything, I would say Niseko and Japan is probably a little bit and one notch closer to Europe. So I wouldn't say Niseko is quite the Courchevel. I would like to use the Courchevel of Asia yet, but I think Niseko is getting there. This is the reason why. Niseko has got, as I mentioned, that we've got a food, we've got a culture, we've got hospitality. We have got the reputation of that location within Asia as well. So think about it within Asia, right? If you're someone who's based in Shanghai, who's then based in Beijing, who's in Hong Kong, in Singapore, anywhere in Asia, like the key cities in Asia, the gateway cities in Asia, it was like, well, I want to spend a week skiing, but I don't want to kind of like suffer the time differences and losing like a day or two in adjusting it. Where would I go? Where's the best ski destination I can go in Asia, within Asia? Well, the choice is Niseko, because Niseko has got, so far within Asia, Niseko has got the best infrastructure. Niseko has got the best snow. Niseko has got the best, I would say, food and overall arrangement. And the Park Hyatt in Niseko, I would say probably right now is the best ski resort within Asia. So yeah, I would say, and also at the same time, as if there's more, I would say high-end resorts will be going to Niseko as well. There's a Capella being built, and there's St. Regis residence being built in the Niseko village. And there's a few of the, there's one more hotel which is being developed by, which is going to be managed by the Rosewood hotel group as well. So there's quite a lot of the 5 and 6 star hotels. Obviously, there's one Aman being built in Muiwa as well. So there's quite a lot of 5 to 6 star hotels being built. And then when you compare to the rest of Asia, actually, you don't really have a congregation of these kind of like so many international 5 or 6 star hotels there. So therefore, in the future, that when you look at the ski markets in Asia, there's always going to be mass market. There's always going to be high end. There's always going to be kind of like the top luxury. In my pick, Niseko is the top luxury destination in 5 or 10 years. It will be the Courchevel in Asia.
And Yang, that's interesting, because I was going to come on to that, and you've actually helped shape my next question. So it's clearly going to liquid in the future, just by virtue of the fact that there's more development, both hotels and it will probably also increase the dynamic of the investment opportunities there too. But you see it remaining high end rather than pushing down into mass market in the future?
Yeah, I would say my personal perspective would be that, because I mean, demand is always going to be broad, right? Because I mean, you always have like relatively budget choices, and then you can go for the higher end choices as well. But when you look at Niseko as kind of like a ski market, because Niseko, I mean, don't get me wrong, Niseko is actually very expensive. Right now, Niseko is probably the most expensive ski destination within Asia, or even within Japan. Within Japan, I would say the pricing level is relatively high. It's relatively higher than the rest of Asia. But even within Japan, Niseko is the most expensive ski destination. The Japanese, the local Japanese people complain. They're like, "Oh, no, I don't want to go to Niseko. Niseko is very expensive, right?" So therefore, if you're talking about an expensive destination, my pick will be you probably want to go for high end and luxury in order for you to really just have that competitive edge and to cater to the market. If you want to pick up like mass market ski accommodation and etc., I think there are many other markets you can pick. But I would say Niseko, my pick would be high end luxury.
Okay, now look up. Good. And just to sort of going a little bit within that, are there any particular locations in and around Niseko that that you like or that you think are strong from an investment perspective above others?
Yeah, so you can Niseko is actually, I mean, nowadays you can call it Niseko. Niseko is actually a very small village. But nowadays, when people talk about Niseko, usually people talk about it's called the Grand Niseko, which is the Niseko United. So essentially, it's 4 ski resorts on the same mountain. The mountain is called Mount Annapurna, and there are 4 essentially ski resorts. The oldest one is called Hirafu, which is probably best known. And most of the people, when they go to Niseko the first time, they always go to Hirafu because that's basically where the original village is. And then you've got 2 more, I would say, kind of a single ownership ski resorts. One is owned by actually a Hong Kong, company called the PCPD. The other one is owned by a Malaysian group called YTL. So the Hong Kong group owns the Hanazono area. PCPD owns Hanazono, and the YTL owns the Niseko village. And another one, which is called called Annapurna, is in the back. So in total, there are 4 essential ski resorts. To my mind, right now the most expensive place is Hirafu because it's most mature. It was the original village. But gradually speaking, I would say Hirafu, the pricing growth in Hirafu is going to slow. The reason why is because Hirafu was originally master planned as a village. So therefore that, there's no, and also the ownership of the land in Hirafu is actually very, very fragmented. So therefore that, you don't really have a single large piece of land, which is going to be, suitable or available for a big, 5-star, 6-star resorts. So it's always going to be relatively small, like 2 or 3 or 3 or 4-star resorts. And that's number one. Number 2 is actually the infrastructure was planned for a little village. So that's why nowadays during the ski season, the traffic is actually very, very congested. Getting in and getting out, it takes quite a lot of efforts. So therefore, I feel that then gradually the demand is going to spill elsewhere. So I feel that out of the 4 resorts, that the location which has got the best prospect will be Hanazono, because as we know that PCPD, the Lee family, from the financial perspective, actually they've got a very strong financial backing. They've got enough of the investment. They've got enough money to do the investment. So therefore, that for the last 10 years, Hanazono is by far the best resort in terms of infrastructure, because PCPD has been spending quite a lot of money in upgrading the ski lift. Right now, that even during COVID last year, they've changed the ski lift from the quad ski lift to a seater covered heated ski lift, which is being called the Ferrari of the ski lifts. And also they've installed a gondola up in the mountain as well. And most importantly, now they've got the base, which is the Park Hyatt, which is basically the most luxurious 5-star hotel not only in Niseko, it's probably in the entire Japan. So I mean, I think Hanazono has got the best prospect because you can ride on the infrastructure improvement, and you can ride on the essentially the gentrification or further development of the area itself.
And look, Yang, I couldn't, infrastructure in a ski resort is particularly important, not just up the mountain, but in and around the resort area. And I know you're referring to both when you're talking about Hanazono and how it connects down to Kuchan and train lines and stuff like that as well. So I completely get that and agree. So just two more questions from me, Yang, before we wrap up. It's a beautiful place of nature up around that part of the world. I mean, it's gorgeous both in winter and I agree with your points in summer as well. I mean, it's as beautiful and nice to visit at that time of the year as it is for winter sport. Is development being conducted in a sustainable way? Is all the new real estate development respecting nature there? Or do you think there need to be improvements on that to keep the natural beauty of the location intact?
Yeah, because I mean, I think for the last 20 or 25 years, you could call it, in Niseko, it was kind of like the initial development phase of Niseko, right? So therefore, that you're exactly right, because sustainability and also the more advanced or the more developed, sophisticated planning guideline would not be implemented in Niseko. So that's why Hirafu area, as I mentioned, that it's kind of like it was a little bit behind on the overall planning, as well as the overall thinking on the sustainability and master planning. So that's a little bit lag behind. Having said that, starting from 2 years ago, I mean, the local authority, Kuchan, the Kuchan government has been looking into the sustainability as well as essentially the overall master plan for the area as well. So now this year, actually the second half of 2022, they're introducing, I mean, essentially it was already out. They've already passed the public consultation stage. So it's going to be, they're introducing a much more stringent and I would say environmentally friendly planning and building policies. So essentially, they're going to be, number one, actually there will be strictly controlling on the density of the building. Number two is that for the high energy consuming buildings, such as for example hotels and the condominiums, there's quite a lot of the additional ESG related regulations and policy which we will be rolling out. So yes, I mean, they're basically very conscious of that. And also in the future, all the designs for basically the large scale projects will need to pass, number one, through a board within the local council. The second thing, there's going to be a very stringent public consultation process as well. So yeah, so I mean, they're heading
that's good
towards
to hear.
that direction.
Yeah, I mean, that is great to hear.
And the one more thing I would like to mention is that even for the infrastructure planning, we all know that in 2029, the bullet train, the Shinkansen, is going to be extended from Hakodate, which is the southern tip of Hokkaido, to Kuchan. And they're doing quite a lot of the planning to minimize the impact for the bullet train connection for that as well. So yeah. So I mean, they're heading towards that direction.
That's fantastic, and particularly great to hear that sustainability is front of mind for what's happening there and into the future. It's important that places like that preserve their natural character as they become more commercially successful too. So one final question, and just a little pivot away from Niseko back toward a conclusion, Yang. So it's clear that we both love winter sports. I'd finish, particularly just hot off the heels of the Olympics closing. Who's your favorite? Who's your favorite skier? Or winter sports individual. You can pick a skier or a winter sports personality.
I think you can probably ask any. I would say, especially within mainland China, you can.
I think I know what you're going to say, but I'm just waiting for you to say.
Yeah, well, I will leave that to the to the audiences, because I mean, make that guess. That young, beautiful, female skier. Everybody, I think she's right now the most popular skier, in China, and she she's basically the champion. Yeah. She's basically designated as the champion for the for the winter sports. So she will basically be the ambassador.
Obviously not talking about Eileen Gu then, but anyway, well, I'm sure she'll be disappointed that you just didn't pop her name out there. Thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been great fun having a conversation with you about a place that we both love, and really appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gavin. Thank you for having me. It's great fun.
So that's a wrap for today's podcast. And it just leaves it for me to thank you very much for tuning in and listening to our conversation. And as I mentioned at the beginning, if you'd like any information or you want to have a chat, drop me a line on Gavin R. Morgan at propnext.com, GavinRMorgan at propnext.com. Or there's more information, as I said earlier, too, on www.propnext.com. That's www.propnx.com. I look forward to speaking with you in future podcasts, and thank you again.